The candlelight flickered softly, casting shimmering reflections across the pristine white tablecloth. Inside the elegant restaurant, Alexander Crane sat up straight, forcing himself to focus on the woman seated across from him, rather than the 6-year-old daughter sitting snugly between them. At 35, he had built Crane Industries into a billion-dollar tech empire. Yet the art of dating remained one domain he had yet to conquer. And tonight, with Emma as his reluctant chaperone, this blind date was turning into quite the ordeal. Emma's babysitter had called in sick at the last minute, leaving Alexander with no choice but to bring his daughter along. He had considered canceling the carefully arranged meeting, but the woman insisted that it was perfectly fine to bring a child. Alexander had been skeptical, and perhaps his instincts were right. The woman before him was the picture of a perfect partner, beautiful, confident, educated, successful. She spoke in the smooth, measured tones of a seasoned corporate lawyer, discussing mergers and contracts with polished pride. Yet the longer she spoke, the emptier Alexander felt, as though he were listening to a flawlessly edited recording, one that had no trace of real breath or life. Emma, on the other hand, was quietly observant. She barely spoke throughout dinner, studying the woman with that earnest, unfiltered scrutiny that only children possess. When the woman began talking about the merger that might get her promoted to partner, Alexander nodded politely, but his attention drifted to the young waitress approaching their table. She looked to be in her late 20s, her blonde hair neatly tied in a ponytail, her face kind and naturally graceful. The small name tag on her chest read, Clara. Throughout the evening, she had remembered Emma's name, brought the girl crayons without being asked, and spoke with a warmth that was genuine rather than professional. "Good evening," Clara greeted with a gentle smile. "Would you like some dessert? Our molten chocolate cake is one of the favorites." Emma's eyes lit up. "Can I have that one, Daddy, please?" "Of course, sweetheart," Alexander replied, then turned to Clara. "And what would you recommend for adults?" "Our creme brulee is quite popular," Clara said. "Or, if you'd prefer something lighter, the lemon tart is lovely." The woman across from him waved a dismissive hand. "I don't eat dessert, too many calories." Clara's smile didn't falter, but Alexander caught a fleeting sadness in her eyes, just for a second, but enough to stir his curiosity. Then, "Just the chocolate cake," he said. "Thank you, Clara." As Clara walked away, Emma tugged at her father's sleeve. "Daddy, she's nice. That pretty waitress is really nice." Alexander smiled. "Yes, she is. Not like somebody else," Emma muttered, shooting a side glance at the woman. "Emma?" Alexander hissed, but the little girl was undeterred. "She didn't even ask my name. She just talks about boring stuff." The waitress asked about my drawing and said it was pretty. The woman gave a strained smile. "I'm sorry. I'm not used to talking to children. I don't have much experience." "That's okay," Emma said, honestly. "You're not very good at talking to grown-ups either. You only talk about yourself." Alexander wished he could crawl under the table. "Emma, that's not polite." But his daughter pressed on with her mission. When Clara returned with dessert, Emma looked up, eyes sparkling. "Miss, do you have a husband?" Clara froze, and Alexander's face turned crimson. "Emma, you can't just ask people that." "Why not?" Emma blinked innocently. "Aunt Rachel said Daddy needs to find someone nice to marry, and she's nice." Clara flushed, but her kind smile stayed. "No, I'm not married." "Do you like kids?" Emma asked. "I love them," Clara said sincerely. "I work at a daycare during the day and here at night." Alexander frowned slightly. "2 jobs. Actually, 3, Clara replied with a soft laugh. I'm also studying online to finish my degree. It's a lot, but I manage. Something gentle stirred inside Alexander, a quiet ache he hadn't felt in years. This woman, juggling 3 jobs and school, still found the grace to be kind to a stranger's child. Meanwhile, the woman he'd been on the date with glanced at her phone, then rose from her chair. I should go. I have an early meeting tomorrow. It was nice meeting you, Alexander. Perhaps next time, without the child. She left without so much as a goodbye to Emma. And in that moment, Alexander felt an unexpected wave of relief. Good, Emma muttered softly, then looked up at Clara. I didn't like her anyway. Her eyes sparkled. Miss, do you have to work much longer? Only about an hour more, Clara said kindly. Can you sit with me just for a bit? Emma, she's working, Alexander said gently. We shouldn't take up her time. Clara smiled, her gaze warm. It's a quiet night. My manager won't mind if I take a few minutes off. If you don't mind. Of course, Emma exclaimed joyfully, clapping her small hands together. Sit here where the boring lady was sitting. Emma's innocent remark made Clara laugh. She gently pulled out the chair and sat down, and in that very moment, Alexander realized that for the first time that evening, he truly felt at ease. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, as if they had known each other far longer than a few minutes. Clara shared adorable stories from the daycare where she worked, making Emma burst into cheerful giggles. Then she turned to Alexander, asking about his work, not with polite curiosity or hidden motives, but with genuine interest. What are you studying? Alexander asked. Early childhood education, Clara replied with a soft smile. I want to be a teacher. It doesn't pay much, but I love it. Kids are honest and pure. They see the world in a way adults have forgotten. Emma sat quietly, her round eyes wide with admiration. Daddy, can we keep her? Emma, Alexander exclaimed, caught between embarrassment and amusement. But Clara only chuckled, her voice as light as a summer breeze. I'm not a puppy, sweetheart, but you're perfect, Emma replied immediately. You're kind, pretty, you like kids, and you make Daddy smile. He never smiles with the other ladies. Alexander met Clara's gaze, and in her eyes he saw surprise, warmth, and something else that made his heart tighten just a little. I'm sorry, he murmured. She's a bit too honest sometimes. That's all right, Clara said, still smiling. I like honesty. It makes things feel real. She glanced at her watch, her voice tinged with regret. I should get back to work, but honestly, I really enjoyed talking with both of you. Wait, Alexander said quickly, the words escaping before he could think. Would you have coffee with me sometime? Not as a customer and a waitress, just 2 people who'd like to get to know each other better. Clara hesitated. I don't know if that's a good idea. We come from very different worlds. Maybe not that different, Alexander said, his eyes sincere. If we believe in the same things, kindness, honesty, hard work, then background doesn't really matter, does it? And I'm coming too, Emma chimed in, her eyes shining. We're a package deal. Clara laughed, her eyes glistening with the soft shimmer of tears. All right, she whispered. Coffee sounds wonderful. In the months that followed, Clara slowly became an inseparable part of the Cranes' lives. Alexander helped her finish her degree by establishing a special scholarship, one she could accept without feeling her pride wounded. He often stopped by the daycare where she worked, watching from a distance, as Clara cared for the children with infinite patience and tenderness. Each time, he felt as though he were learning to love all over again. Meanwhile, Emma became their little matchmaker, always finding ways to bring them closer together. Clara brought laughter and warmth back into their home, teaching Alexander that success wasn't measured in numbers or stock prices, but in the moments of sincerity we share. She also taught Emma that kindness costs nothing, yet has the power to change the world. Clara showed them both that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with a child's innocent question and a heart willing to look past appearances to see what's real inside. A year after that fateful blind date, Alexander proposed to Clara not in a fancy restaurant, but right at the daycare where she worked. Emma and 24 children were the witnesses, cheering as he knelt down and offered her a ring that sparkled brighter than the lights in the room. But what brought tears to Clara's eyes wasn't the diamond ring. It was the small, handmade card Emma had crafted, the letters uneven and sweet. "We're keeping you forever." Sometimes the person we need most walks into our life in the most unexpected way, bringing a smile, a dessert, and a simple act of kindness that reminds us what true love really means. And sometimes the clear-sighted wisdom of a child sees what adults are too busy to notice, that happiness isn't far away at all. It's simply waiting for us to open our hearts and let it in.